Slurpty-derp my G's. I hope you guys are all doing well. Thanks for all your comments on yesterday's video on the Amen break mixing. Special shout out going out to Ian Trig, Joe Mama, Headbanger, Mike Briggs as always, the Mondarian as well, thank you. I am Protos, Marcos Rotlan, Death Proof, Akata Cat, aka Tag, Madaza Music as well, Anthony Alvarez, thank you guys for commenting. I've just taken the same break, I haven't changed it, I've just bounced it out essentially. And I wanted to do a little video today about the secret of parallel compression. And are you ready for the big reveal? The secret is to parallel compression is that you don't do it because it's terrible. That's the secret. The secret is don't use parallel compression. The reason why is I'm going to explain it. You can do other things in parallel that would be a lot better, like parallel distortion, parallel convolution, reverb, some stuff like that. The reason why I don't like to do parallel compression, and I have not done it for probably 7 or 8 years, it's one of those things that I did at the beginning because like everyone says parallel compression, it's like a buzzword and it makes you think that it's cool and you have to do it. But when I started to realise that I was never getting a good result from it, I was like, what is the reason for this? And then I started to learn, the fundamentals about what I was actually doing. And in case you guys want to improve your fundamentals, links up above to book a one-on-one session as well. But yeah, when I you should really be able to articulate concisely every thing that you're doing and the reason behind it. And I was not able to articulate a reason as to why I would use parallel compression. We can do, for example, like on the drums here. This is just an example, but it can apply for anything. So what I've done is I've used the arm in break again, just the same one as from before. Haven't modified it. And I've just made like 2 different versions. One with what I consider to be a useful parallel processing chain, and one which just has parallel compression. And let's listen through the parallel compressions, and we're going to do it like with the bass in the background as well, because the idea is that the drums should sound good in context with something, So here's the normal break. So let's add on with the parallel compression. And I've actually chosen 3 different compressors, and I've actually gone to try and find the best setting on each one. So I've chosen the Shadow Hills mastering compressor for number 1. I've gone for the drums aggressive preset, and it sounds like this on its own. And we're going to mix it in together. So, okay. That's how that sounds. Then I've gone for the API 2500, like a Waves one. I've chosen the drum kit heavy compressor setting there. Sounds like that on its own, together with the normal one. Kind of brightens it up a bit, I suppose. Then I've gone for another one, which is the SDRR. This is the from Klanghelm. And parallel drum brass. I've gone for the preset there. And yeah, this is going to be like subtle, and it might be difficult to hear the exact differences. Hopefully you're able to. And now I'm going to do my other parallel chain, which is one I've set up myself, which doesn't have compression but has a bunch of other stuff instead, and that sounds like this. So if we go ahead and quickly try and compare it to the compressed version like this. So this is the parallel compression, and then the parallel distortion. And I can go ahead and do all the different variations of the compressor to mine. And even the last one, we can check that one one more time. Back to my one again. in my personal opinion, the chain that I've made here sounds way, way, way better. And there's a reason for that. It's not because I'm good or better than parallel compression or better than anyone else. It's because I have a fundamental understanding of what I'm trying to do to the drums and why compressing them in parallel makes no sense to me. And the reason why it doesn't make any sense is quite straightforward. It's because I believe that, and you can feel free to disagree in the comments down below, but I believe that if you take the frequency spectrum, which you have, and you play the drums, I believe that all the important frequencies in the low end and the mid range up to maybe 500 or so, roughly up to 500, 800, I believe that everything down there should be just one sound. And I believe that if you are parallel compressing, you're making it into two sounds. And not only are they're two of the same sound, because I don't believe that parallel compression changes the sound enough to change the harmonics to add something new on top of it. So essentially, to me, it just sounds like you're just phasing the sound with itself, because even if you change the dynamics with the compressor a little bit, you're still just putting one sound on top of another. Whereas if you've just got one drum break without any parallel stuff on it, then at least you're going by my rule, which is a rule that I stick to, which is to have one bloody sound in the low end of the mid range, not two of the same sound, just like one is good enough, and turn the bloody volume up, get the volume higher. if it's too quiet and you need to pull out some magic trick, have you actually turned it up? So what I've done for my version here is the first thing is to get that first break to actually be loud, So I've just pushed it into the clipper, of course. I've gained it up 1.8, yeah? So rather than like trying to get magic new volume from a similar sound which has been changed dynamically very slightly but then phases with the original, I've actually taken that fundamental main break as it was and just bloody turned it up like to the full volume. Make sure, because if you go too high, it's going to start to sound horrible, but you can push it up, red line it quite hard, and it's still going to have the same dynamic shape, and it's just going to be louder. So have you done that first? If you haven't done that first, then there's no point in adding on another parallel layer, because the first one wasn't even good to begin with. So once you've got that volume up, then you can add in a parallel layer. And when I add in this parallel layer here, it sounds like this. It just fattens up the break, in my opinion, because it's basically completely different to the original. That's the whole concept. And how I've made it different to the original is I've done a number of creative distortions. Ruiner, Decapitator is more just saturation, but it kind of changes the harmonics a little bit. But then, most importantly, I've convoluted it to 100%. So the white blur setting, it's my favourite. Makes a really tight and short and sweet reverb that will just give you that nice stereo width. And something, now it's out to the sides. It's in a different place in the stereo field. But most importantly, it's completely convoluted. So it has none of the harmonics are the same to the original. So now I'm only stacking on new harmonics on top of the pre-existing break. I'm not adding in somewhat of a changed, dynamically compressed new layer, which is just far too similar to the original still in terms of its harmonic content. I'm only adding completely fresh new harmonics on top. So that's the key difference. And then once I've done that, I'm also again, because I'm very strict about having only one sound in the whole low end and mid range. Yeah. One of its kind, what I mean, not 3 different kick drums, but one kick drum, one snare, So one of each sound in the whole low end and mid range is my rule. So even though this layer is like convoluted and has all the harmonics changed, I still need to make sure that I'm only going to add it in the high end. Yeah. So again, what I've done is I've just low passed it a couple of times. And then I've done a transient shaper because that reverb tail, although it's really short, I can kind of tighten it up a bit further. So make that tightened quick convolution reverb even tighter with the transient shaper, and you don't really notice the tail anymore. So it's just that really quick extra harmonic addition, just for good fun. Another low pass, and then that's how that layer sounds. And then obviously turning it down as well. Even with the parallel compression, I have adjusted the volume on all the layers to try and get the best out of it. So yeah, it's not like I've tried to use the parallel compression to make the drums better, but in my opinion, it just won't ever work because fundamentally it doesn't make sense to me to do it. That's probably going to trigger a lot of people, and people are going to be like, well, I've just spent 13 years understanding that parallel compression is the only way that I'm ever going to make it, and now you're telling me this, and I'm going to have to undo all of my learning, and who are you to tell me what to do? Honestly, it's just how I've been doing it for like the last 8, 9, 10 years. I've never once done parallel compression on any of my releases, on anyone else's releases, on anyone else's songs that I've helped them with. And if you're new to my channel and you want to see like some actual receipts from the work that I've done, just go to my Instagram and check my highlights in the tuition or mastering highlights, and you can see all of the feedback from many various people that are all very, very happy with how I've changed their whole production approach in terms of their actual producing, and also those clients that have been very, very happy with the mastering process as well. And throughout all of that history of doing all of that, I've never once advocated to do parallel compression to anyone, and I never do it myself because, like I said, fundamentally it just doesn't make enough sense because the harmonics of the compressed signal are just too close to the original still, and so it just results in weakening the original sound, in my opinion. But this technique is a way that you can add some fresh harmonics on top and get that, that extra magic pill that you've been craving. Okay, it does sound more powerful than, especially in context with the bass, It's got way more clarity and weight in the low end. Speaking of clarity, I'm just today have launched my next group class. It's a 10-person only one-off special event, which is called Clarity, Volume, Depth. We'll go into much more detail in other areas on how you can get the most clear, the loudest, and the most detailed in terms of its depth mix down possible from all of the knowledge that I've accrued in the many years that I've been producing. And it'll be a group class about 1 hour long with Q&A at the end, and that's on the 2nd of June, Sunday evening European time, 9 p.m. Links above to book in if you want to book yourself a slot in the class. It's not expensive, it's a lot of fun, but yeah, I'll go over other stuff in that class which is just very, very useful to know, so that you can get just that epic full sound in your songs if you're not feeling satisfied with them already, and hopefully I can help, but yeah, this is just my little clickbait video that I've done today to trick you all and to ruffle some feathers. Hopefully you've got your chicken outfit on, and just take my word for it, get that first original break or drum group, whatever it is, layered, fat, and turn the bloody volume up, Make sure you've actually slammed the volume and made it as loud as you can, because if you're trying to do parallel compression, is probably because you're trying to get something more out of the drums that you think wasn't good enough already. So make sure they're actually good enough to begin with, and then if you want to like stack like a new layer on top, much better to do something like this where you completely change the harmonics, creative distortion, convolution, reverb, and then layer them in the high end. But then you don't run the risk of having those phasing issues in the mid-range and the low end where the compressed signal is just too fundamentally similar to the original dry signal of the drums or any other part of your track. Hopefully that was a helpful video for you guys. And love you guys very much. Have a great rest of your day. I'll catch up with you guys on another tutorial tomorrow. Until then, ciao, ciao.